Well, I'm up at the shop today and I saw this. I saw all three of these dozers in a line. And I don't know that we've ever had all three of these dozers in the same spot before. Because the this D6, let's see, I think it's a 1980, 81. I think it's a 1981. Let's see, Dad bought it when I was in college, so that was somewhere between 90 and 94. Somewhere in that era. He always wanted a D6 because his dad and Martin Steiniger had one, and he always wanted one. So he bought this D6, and it's got a giant blade on it. As you can see, it's got the manual 6-way blade, which it's nice to have 6-way blade, but that thing is huge. And what a wrestling job sometimes to get this thing angled the way you want it. And this is the Komatsu D38P. In the wintertime we have to freeze down swamps and make roads across them. And this girl right here is just way too heavy. You can see the narrow tracks, short track frame, huge dozer out front. Once the roads are frozen and you need to peel a lot of deep snow, it's got a pretty good sized blade on it, so it works great for that, but kind of a pig in soft ground. So that's where this one came in. Just wanted a small light dozer, power 6-way, and it worked very good for that. And I repainted this a couple years ago, so it looks nicer, I guess. Yeah, the D6 has a 60,000 pound winch on the back of it, and this is what we used to get me out of the swamp with the Timco a couple of times. It's got a huge cable on it. Must be at least a 1-inch cable. What a bugger to pull that thing out, but boy does it have power. Works good. I guess maybe one thing I should say about this Komatsu is you can see the frame around the cab. We had that special belt. A guy did that for us. He made a lot stronger grill. I don't know if you want to call it a forestry package or what. I don't know if you can tell, we put new rails on it. I don't know if it's been 2 years now, a year and a half ago. And in the D4 back there, it's kind of a funny story behind that. Dean happened to be up at some other meeting, and I called him and I asked him, are you at that auction today? He says, no, but I'm not that far away from it. And what I was more interested in was they had a 2006 Mac, blue Mac, with a wet kit, and it was all set up, full lockers, 18 speed. Ooh, I take that back. That one does not have full lockers. But I said, we could use another truck. Maybe you could swing over to this auction and check out this truck. And for the right price, if we can get a good buy on it, we should buy it. So he, when he got done with his thing he was at, he went over and was checking out this truck. So he's at this auction and he's checking this truck over, and he goes, that D4H, that high track is here. And I said, yeah, I saw that in the listing, but they didn't say much about it. And he says, well, they're about to sell it. I was like, man, I always kind of wanted a D4 high track. And I think how the story went, he was checking the truck over, seeing what kind of shape that was in, he just kind of, as a side note, he says, man, they're selling that D4 and it's just going too cheap. And I think at that time, if I remember right, and my memory's not great, it was about 10,000 bucks. And it had a relatively new undercarriage under it, from what I read. And if I remember right, they stopped the auction because the auctioneer just wouldn't let it go for that price. And so I was like, whoa, you know, you got me interested. So they started the bidding again, and it took off a little bit. And I don't remember the exact number, and this is terrible, but I think it hung up at 15,000, and Dean was just in awe. He said, that thing's gonna sell for 15,000 bucks. And of course, he thought it was in better shape than what I think it was in. But anyway, I said, wow, you know, that just seems too cheap. He said, it's gonna sell, it's gonna sell. And so I told him over the phone, bump it. Give me just a little bit more time to think about this, because I wouldn't mind a dozer like that. So he bumped it, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, well, what's going on? He goes, well, you can stop thinking about it. You just bought it. I was like, what? He's like, yeah.